Good evening. Today is January 26, 2022, and it is 5:01 p.m. As a quorum of the board is in attendance, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Central Health Board of Managers. Managers, this meeting is partially in person and via video conference as allowed by the Open Meetings Act, so we will need to reiterate our ground rules and technology issues. For our meeting today, we have 5 board members physically present at AISD headquarters and 2 or 3 board managers joining us via video conference. Our staff will be monitoring the feed for the meeting to make sure it remains visible and audible to the public online and here at ASID headquarters. In the event the online portion of the meeting suffers any loss of video or audio, we will take a short recess and attempt to address those issues. As we have done in our last several meetings, we will entertain a motion to limit debate for the meeting, and the staff will be asked to keep presentations within preset time limits. Also, members, please ask for permission from the chair before speaking in order to ensure that microphones can be activated. For our virtual public participants, you will be muted and your video kept off until it is time for you to provide public comment. This will ensure the Board of Managers video feed remains visible at all times as required by state law. When it is time to provide public comment, your microphone will be unmuted and you will be invited to turn on your video if you wish. We will now begin the Board of Managers meetings, and the next item of business will be public communication. We will receive public communication for both the Board of Managers and the Strategic Planning Committee meetings before we proceed to the board agenda. Members of the public who wish to make comments during the public communication portion of the meeting must have registered with Central Health via the online form or by telephone no later than 3:30 p.m. today. Yersinia, did anyone register to make comments for the board meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 members of the public who wish to speak in the Board of Managers meeting.
Great. Then you can go ahead and read the rules and call out those who would like to make comment.
When called upon to speak, please introduce yourself by name before beginning your comments. Also, if your comments will focus on a specific item or issue on the agenda, please indicate the full item number. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Staff will be timing each speaker and will announce when a speaker has reached their limit. To ensure the efficiency of the meeting, once we have let speakers know they've reached their limit, we will allow 30 more seconds to wrap up their comments before they are muted. And I will put this up just for a reminder. Due to the restrictions of the Open Meetings Act, the board may restrict in discussing any items that are not listed on the agenda for this meeting. The board may choose to set aside any new issues for discussion at a future meeting. We received 2 submissions for public comment via our online portal and none through our voicemail. At this time, I will call on our first public communications speaker, Mr. Paul Saldaña.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Paul Saldaña. I'm with the Austin Latino Coalition, and I wanted to speak just very briefly about your strategic healthcare delivery fiscal year 23 strategic priorities. We had an opportunity to host representatives from Central Health, including Mike Gieslin, I think board manager Cynthia Valadez, from your staff, Ivan Davila, Perla Cavazos, Ted Burden, Yesenia, I think was on there, and your consultant, Will Murphy, as well. Actually, I was just calling to say thank you. I think during this last 2 years, during the COVID pandemic, has certainly forced us all to do some self-reflection as individuals and as a community. We're very grateful to the ongoing partnership and support that we have received from Central Health. So I was really just calling to say thank you. I thank our members who participated in the meeting a couple of weeks ago, felt like we were heard. Your staff and your consultants were very much dedicated to being active listeners and learners. And we just really appreciated the opportunity to provide you our feedback of what we've seen and learned over the course of the last couple of years throughout this pandemic. And we're committed to working in partnership with you and your staff moving forward to ensure that those who don't have access to health insurance or are underinsured, throughout the remainder of this pandemic and moving forward, we're convinced and feel really good about working in partnership with you all to address the ongoing health inequities in Austin, Travis County. So that was it. Just calling to say thank you for continuing to be a partner with our coalition and your commitment to being active listeners and learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saldana. We appreciate those kind words, and we appreciate you taking the time to provide us with those comments. Yersinia?
Thank you. At this time, I will call on our second and final speaker, President and CEO of Central Health, Mr. Mike Giesland.
Thank you, Yesenia, and members. I'm Mike Giesland, President and CEO of Central Health. I'll note that a resolution on this matter is on the consent agenda, but it is more important that Susan Laura Willers deserves words of honor and appreciation for her 7+ years of service here at Central Health. Susan has an incredible opportunity and will be transitioning out of the organization, but even during this time, she has continued to give a full measure of effort into everything that is happening around her transition. And she has just built an incredible program as the Enterprise Vice President for Human Resources, and we're going to continue with the great work that she began that 7+ years ago. On a more personal note, Susan has been a trusted advisor. She is truly a connected servant leader and in touch with the organization and its sentiments and what's happening. And she's someone who has taught me and many others a great deal about leadership. Susan, you will be missed, but we wish you all the best. And please join me in a personal as well as a virtual round of applause for Susan Willers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Giesland, and I echo those sentiments with regard to Susan. Thank you so much for your service here at Central Health, and we wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you.
So, Yersinia, is that it?
Yes, that was it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank everyone again for their comments. We will now proceed to the consent agenda. Consent agenda. Consent agenda number 1, approve the minutes of the Central Health Board of Managers meeting, December 20th, 2021. Consent agenda number 2, receive and ratify Central Health investments for December 2021. Consent item number 3, receive the fiscal year to date healthcare services expenditures made by and accept the preliminary December 2021 financial statements for Central Health and Community Care Collaborative. And consent agenda item number 4, receive and take appropriate action on a merit increase in the renewed contract between Central Health and the President and Chief Executive Officer of Sendero Health Plans, Incorporated, as recommended by the Sendero Board of Directors. And consent agenda number 5, approve a resolution honoring Susan Laura Willers for her 7.5 years of service as Enterprise VP for Human Resources. Do I have a motion? Manager Greenberg?
I move that the board approve consent agenda items C1 through C5.
Do I have a second? Manager Musaidu? I have a motion by Manager Greenberg. I have a second by Manager Musaidu. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. We will now proceed to the regular agenda item. Managers, as noted in an email to you all last week, we are very pressed for time in our meeting this month due to quorum limitations. If for some reason we are unable to address any of your questions in the meeting today, please make note of those questions and you can send them to Brianna Yanis or Pela Cavazos. Questions will be answered by the staff and posted to the Board of Managers public bulletin board. Also, for the sake of time efficiency, I would ask that if you plan to make a motion, please have the motion sheet available to reference prior to making a motion. And because I have a difficult time splitting my attention between those attending virtually and those here in person, I will alternate requests for motions between virtual attendees and those here in person. As of right now, I don't see anyone virtually on my screen, but I see that Manager Jones, or at least I thought that Manager Jones, oh, there he is in attendance. So I will query you, Manager Jones, for a requested motion and see if you would like to make that motion. Please remember, making a motion doesn't commit you to voting in favor of the motion. You can vote for, against, or even abstain, even though you've made the motion and seconded the motion. Item number 4 will not be considered this evening. That item was receive and discuss updates on the 1115 Medicaid waiver delivery system reform incentive payment program and associated projects, the Community Care Collaborative, and other healthcare delivery partners, programs, projects, and arrangements, including agreements with Ascension, Texas. At this time, I would entertain a motion to limit debate on all items in the regular agenda for our meeting this evening. Do I have a motion? Manager Musaiti. Yes.
I move that the Board of Managers limit debate on all items on the agenda to 3 minutes per member per item.
And I think I have a second from Manager Jones virtually.
Yes.
I have a motion by Manager Musaiti. If I have a second by Manager Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Regular agenda item. Item number 1, announce appointments to the Central Health Board committees. Members, I have provided you with a list of committee membership, and it is also in your packet. I received no comments regarding appointments, so these committee assignments will be effective for calendar years 2022 and 2023 unless changes need to be made. There's no motion necessary on this particular item. And so unless there are questions or concerns, I will go to agenda item number 2. Hearing none, agenda item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action on the proposed mandatory payment rate to be assessed on institutional healthcare providers during fiscal year 2022 under the Local Healthcare Provider Participation Program in Travis County, and how the revenue derived from those payments is to be spent as required by the Texas Health and Safety Code, Section 298E.151. Members, a memo and presentation on this item were sent to the board packet on Friday, and staff is available to answer any questions for you. As background, we have had a public hearing on this particular item. The hospitals involved provided comment. We did not take a vote at that point in time, but postponed the vote. We are here today to set the payment rate at 0.82% of net patient revenue. We have not heard any comments or dissension by any of the hospitals, so I would like to move forward with this particular rate. Do I have a motion? Manager Greenberg.
I move that the board set the FY 2022 Local Provider Participation Fund, open paren LPPF, close paren, mandatory payment rate at 0.82% of net patient revenue of Travis County inpatient hospitals.
Do I have a second? Manager Brinson?
I second.
I have a motion by Manager Greenberg. I have a second by Manager Brinson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, receive and discuss and take appropriate action on a presentation of the Central Health Fiscal Year 2021 financial audit. Mr. Jimmy Rommel, the engagement partner of Central Health's external auditors, Maxwell, Locke, and Ritter, will be presenting. Mr. Rommel?
So good evening, everyone. So tonight we'll be going over the audit results for your fiscal year ended September 30th, 2021. So included in our audit report this year are the independent auditor's report, the manager's discussion and analysis, the basic financial statements, including the notes to the financial statements, our report on control and compliance under government auditing standards. And then as a reminder, the 3 discretely presented component units are also included in the final report. That's the Community Care, CCC, and Sendero. And those entities each have their own independent audit outside of the Central Health audit. Next slide, please. So we are issuing, you can go back one. We are issuing a unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements for your fiscal year ended September 30th, 2021, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide as your external auditor. Next slide, please. So as part of our audit, we're also required to communicate certain areas to the governing body at the end of the engagement. So we just want to point out that during fiscal year 21, there were no new accounting policies or changes in existing policies. Also, there were no difficulties encountered performing the audit. We definitely want to thank everyone at Central Health for all their assistance with the audit this year. There were no adjusting entries as part of our audit, and also there were no disagreements as part of the audit process this year. Next slide, please. And so as part of our audit, we also review key processes and controls, as well as certain compliance items that are required to be reviewed under government auditing standards. And we just want to point out that we noted no material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting, and also noted no instances of non-compliance required to be reported under government auditing standards. And the final slide, please. And with that, we'll provide the final audit report for your consideration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rommel. And I'd also like to thank the Central Health financial staff for doing such a great job. This is an excellent audit report, and I'd like to thank you for all your hard work, not only on this report, but on all the activities that you provide us to allow us to monitor the finances of Central Health. So with that presentation, I'd like to ask for a motion. Manager Motwani.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the board accept the Central Health Fiscal Year 2021 financial audit as presented by Maxwell, Locke, and Ritter.
Thank you. Manager Jones, would you like to second?
I second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Manager Motwani. I have a second by Manager Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Just to remind the public that this audit will be published on the Central Health website within a few days so that everyone can take a look at it. Agenda item number 5, confirm the next regular board meeting, date, time, and location. Managers, our next Central Health Board of Managers meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 23rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. at AISD headquarters, 4000 South Interstate 35 Frontage Road, Austin, Texas. At this time, I'm ready to accept a motion for adjournment. Manager Greenberg,
I move adjournment.
I have a second. Manager Motwani. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All, yes, ma'am. That's a great question, Manager Musaitif.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear her question. Could you
Her
repeat?
question is, are we moving our meetings to Monday? And
It's a
I think
typo.
it's a typo. So I can read this again. Managers, our next Central Health Board of Managers meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. at AISD headquarters, 4000 South I-35 Frontage Road, Austin, Texas. So going back, I have a motion on the table. I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? We are adjourned. Thank you, members. I appreciate your patience.